What's up guys, it's Andrew at Motorcycles Off-Road, and in this week's video, that's right, I do a new video every week and it's released on Friday. In this week's video, I want to talk to you guys about the best dual sport for the Trans-American Trail, or a BDR, or a long adventure. Before I jump right into the video, I want to briefly talk about the feedback that I got in last Friday's video. It was the Honda 300L compared to the Yamaha Tenere 700. This video has been received very well and I thank you all for that. I did, however, get a few people who started to pile on, saying comments like comparing random things to other random things. For example, this is like comparing a golf ball to a tomato, and etc, etc. Them just trying to be funny and creative, coming up with whatever ridiculous thing they could compare to another one as an analogy for my video. That's all fine. I just want to say a bunch of people in the comments here and on Facebook have asked me in the past to compare these two videos. If a group of my subs or this community ask me for a video, then I will do my best to accommodate. Also, you can see in less than 1 week's time this video has done very well, so apparently a lot of people were interested in this video. But that's all about that. I just wanted to explain the video and say your constructive criticism is always welcome. So on to this video. So we're talking about the Trans-American Trail, which is a US coast-to-coast trip, or maybe even a BDR, which is a trip broke down into sections in different areas of the US. This doesn't have to be exactly in the US, but the beauty of these trips is they're set up so you get to have cool views, great sights, cross creeks, riverbeds, stuff like that. For me, when it comes to adventure riding and motor camping, I do mine on my Tenere 700. But looking into what a lot of people are saying and what a lot of people want, I see there's a big group of people that want to participate in trails like this, but do not want to take an adventure bike. This is probably due to the weight of the bike plus the gear that you have to carry in these off-road situations, as well as maybe the entry-level price. A lot of people don't want to spend $10,000 to $20,000 for a motorcycle. It's a luxury after all. Now, dual sports are generally less expensive and are a lighter choice that offers supreme reliability with their more simplistic designs and single-cylinder engines. Before we break down exactly what I would recommend and how to set these bikes up, first I want to talk about features you should consider when looking for a bike to make a trip like this or just long-distance motor camping adventure trips. This is a list of categories that I find very important, and after we go over that, we'll talk about which bikes I recommend, and lastly, a mix of items that I think you should add to make the experience better overall. So I laid out a few things here I feel this should be of most concern. Number one, reliability. You definitely don't want to get a bike that's prone to leaving you stranded on a 4,000 mile trip. That's right, the TAT is 4,253 miles, or 6,845 kilometers. So reliability in a situation like this is very important. Second, I would say on the importance list is service intervals. Once again, this is super important. If you don't have a bike that has long service intervals, then you will be changing your oil very often on the road, and this can be a big pain. You would have to carry oil, supplies to change your oil, new filters, etc. A big example I could give is the Honda 450RL. It's a light dual sport. It's very powerful, but the bike calls for an oil change every 600 miles or 1,000 kilometers. That means on a TAT, for a month trip, let's say, you would have to change your oil twice a week or 7 times total. We definitely don't want to be doing that on the road. Number 3 of importance is overall comfort. Comfort is important. You're going to be on your bike a lot. So that being said, you want to actually be happy while you're on the bike. Comfort can cover many things. Let's talk about wind protection, seat comfort, cruise control. All these things fall into that category. Next, storage capabilities. It is important that your bike can properly pack the essential items and non-essential items that you want to take on this long trip. It's also important that this bike has options on the market to expand its storage capabilities. And lastly, I say range and fuel economy. Sometimes on a long trip, you might not be able to get to the right gas station. You also don't want a bike where you have to stop at every gas station and force you to be really critical when you plan your trip. There may be extra things you want to see. The one gas station you're relying on could be closed. When it comes to fuel or petrol, you want to make sure that your bike has enough range that if you have to, you can go a bit further than planned. The 2 light dual sports I would recommend, which are also in the title, you probably already know, the Honda CRF300 Rally and the DRZ400. I have to put the Rally in this list. The bike is almost ready to go after you put the first 600 miles to get down your first service interval. After that, the bike's pretty much ready. Here I'm going to put a little chart and how these 2 bikes stack up in my opinion. I'm going to cover each point for each bike and how I think you could add additional items to make these bikes score a higher grade in a particular category. I'll also leave a link to my Amazon affiliate down below, and you'll be able to simply click on there to see the items that I talk about in this list. At no cost to you, but a small kickback to me if you decide to use that link. So let's break this down. Oh, I also have to mention I did do a comparison video of these 2 bikes. Well, kinda. The Honda 300L versus the DRZ400. I did not have the Rally in that comparison. And maybe you might find that video informative as well, so I'll pin that to the first comment below if you're interested. Check it out when you're finished with this video. Alright, number one is reliability. One big reason I picked both of these bikes is because they are bulletproof and have amazing reliability. They both can take a beating, and neither of them should leave you stranded. So in this category, I gave both bikes a 5 out of 5 stars. Service intervals. Another good reason to go with these bikes is because both of them have favored service intervals. The Honda is a bit better, but the DRZ's manual calls for 4,000 miles. So I would say with the DRZ, something like a 4,000 mile trip, I would probably just change the oil the day before I went, and you could get away doing the whole tat on just that one change of oil. Moving on to the Honda, it's no question. It calls for an 8,000 mile oil change. These intervals are huge, but once again, the nature of dust and everything you're going to pick up, I would say change the oil and filter the day before you leave. But at least you shouldn't have to change it on the road with either of these bikes. Moving on to comfort. I feel like the Honda 300L model line has much more comfort than the DRZ400. For even shorter 1 hour rides, it's very uncomfortable while sitting on the stock seat of the DRZ. I mean, the seat is just bad. And you can't ride a whole trip like this standing up. The two people I know in my riding group who have a DRZ400S both replaced their seat to a more comfortable option. The Honda offers stock wind protection, but you can purchase a windscreen for the DRZ, so mostly that point can be mitigated by a purchase. Although the wind protection of the fairings and everything is going to be more beneficial on the Honda, that's actually more the brake when you drop the bike, so you really have to weigh that out. Neither bikes come with cruise control, but on long distances you can buy one of these throttle locks. They're really simple to set up, and they just kind of hold you at a specific RPM. But be careful, because if you get too complacent, these things could be dangerous. Next is storage capabilities. Now this is a real important category in my opinion. I would say with some of the other dual sports, you may have to carry a little less, and you may have to also look into carrying some fuel. You also have to consider if you're going to be moto camping the whole time, which is something I like to do, or if you're just going to stay in hotels. This will dramatically impact how much gear you have to carry. Another thing to consider is how many people are going with you. If you're not doing the trip solo, you can break up items between members in your group. For example, with both of these dual sports and many others, they have a 21-inch front rim and an 18-inch rear. Therefore, all the tubes in your whole group will be universal. So not every single person has to carry heavy tubes. Maybe you carry two 21s and an 18 between the group because the 21s can also be used in the rear in a pinch, that is. You would only need to carry one set of cooking materials and one stove when you're riding in a group. So those are just a few things that come to my mind that you guys might want to consider when it comes to how you pack these bikes. And you may notice in some of my camping/riding videos, you see my friend Jeff on his DRZ400, and his is completely set up with Tusk hard panniers for moto camping. That's what he does off this bike. But overall, I would have to give this category a slight edge to the DRZ for two reasons in general. One, the DRZ has been around forever, so there's tons of options for soft bags, hard bags, and in fact, if you need to know if something fits your bike or not, it's very easy to find that out by watching videos or going to forums. A big bonus in the DRZ's corner. Also, the extra torque on the DRZ will make the added weight not feel as significant. I mean, we're talking 20 to 30 horsepower on the Honda CRF, so 30 to 50 pounds of weight can make a huge difference, and the DRZ will suffer less from this. Not to say the Honda's bad here. If you have the Rally or the L models, you could always get one of those giant loop or Tusk soft bag setups, and they seem to work really good. I think I'm going to be springing for one of them pretty soon. Also, don't forget a nice tank bag. You have plenty of storage right in front of you. I have a huge tank bag for my Tenere, but I have a nice dual sport one for a first aid kit, extra bottle of water on the 300L. Next, we have to talk about range. I feel like range is pretty important, as I mentioned above. So the DRZ has a 3.9 gallon total fuel tank capacity, and it gets around 44 to 50 miles per gallon. The 300 Rally has a 3.4 gallon tank, and it gets 70 to 74 miles per gallon. So based on these numbers, that means you'll be able to go 183 miles or 294 kilometers on a full tank on the DRZ, and 245 miles or 394 kilometers on a full tank on a Rally. Now you could go with a bigger tank on the DRZ, that's always possible. With either bike you can install rotopacks or these pretty cool hanging sleeves. Another thing that could be a good idea to consider is when I go with my Tenere, I carry a small pump fuel line siphon. It weighs hardly nothing, but it'll allow me to aid other riders who have a smaller gas tank than the 4.6 gallon tank that I have on the Tenere. But this item could also be used to help you as well if you're stranded in a situation and somebody else comes along. So when it comes to a light, strictly dual sport for a ride like this, these are the two bikes that come to my mind. Now granted, I could be leaving a lot of other bikes out, I've never actually rode the DR650. That could be a great candidate, or maybe the KTM 690. But of course with the KTM, you're starting to get into the higher price range. I know Husqvarna makes a 701 Enduro, but once again, we're starting to get into the high price range. The Rally costs you around $6,000, and you could pick up a used DRZ for definitely the same price or less. Now I do think you can also do this trip on a 250L, 250L Rally, WR250, 300L, etc. without a problem. I'm sure you can. But that being said, you might have to sort out a fuel solution and some personal storage. It can be done though. The DRZ rider that you see in these videos, Jeff, he once hiked 800 miles on an Appalachian Trail with nothing but a book bag and a hammock tent. So that means you guys can definitely do it on a bike. So all you guys just getting started into moto camping, or maybe you want to undertake a trip like this one day, I hope this information and my opinions were valuable to you. And if they were, please subscribe, hit the thumbs up, and I'll see you next Friday. Thanks for watching. My name is Andrew. This is Motorcycles Off-Road. Thanks, guys.